Hey guys, welcome to the fourth episode of Refactoring Explored. Today we're going to talk about categories of code smells, like how the code smells are going to fit into different categories, and this is another thing that contributes to the terminology that you could use while refactoring. So let's see what we're going to talk about. Well, basically, from most of the books and most of the catalogs that I know of, there are five main categories of code smells. There are bloaters, object orientation abusers, change preventers, couplers, and dispensables. Let's see what each and every one of those mean. Bloaters, they're basically the fad code makers. They're code smells that usually grow over time and not really immediately. See, it starts in a very simple way. I have a function that is 7-8 lines of code big. It's not a big deal, really. And what happens is that I want to add that one simple, teeny tiny if condition with just one line of code in its body. It's very simple, really small. It can't hurt, really. And doing this is okay once, but really when it happens over and over and over again, the function ends up being 300 lines of code, and it's very difficult to read, maintain, or manage. That's just so bad. This could reflect with other levels of like packages, modules, classes, and so on. Object orientation abusers, well, those are the people that break OO principles. Those code smells usually appear due to incorrect, incomplete, or misunderstanding of OO principles. See, sometimes we just don't know which design principle to use or how to use it, or really if it really applies to our situation. Change preventers. These are, I'd like to call them change cascaders. See, those code smells, they usually reflect code rigidity and code fragility. What that means is basically making a teeny tiny change in a part of the system either breaks or forces me to make one or more changes through several parts of the system. And it becomes all over the place and you don't know exactly how to deal with it, so you stop refactoring, you git stash what you've done, and you walk away. Couplers, well, that's a result of tightly designed components. These are smells that could result from classes that are tightly coupled to one another, or classes that could overuse delegation, which is a very bad technique that at the beginning is really good, but it has its own merits and it has its own disadvantages. Dispensables, well, they're expendable pieces of code, basically like commented code, zombie code, inactive code, code that is unreachable, something that is just not active or doesn't do anything useful. Well, that's really nice, and those are the five that everybody would talk about, everybody would know. But I have a question. Where do these smells come from? Like, do I just identify those, or do I have to read a new catalog? Do I need to buy a new catalog? What is happening? Well, let me tell you this. My own personal definition of software is this. This is my own definition of software. I see software as a careful decomposition of collaborating bodies of responsibility where each one of them exhibits seemingly abstract behaviors. So let's see those things that I put in bold: careful decomposition, collaborating, responsibility, abstract behavior. What is that? See, careful decomposition, if you're not carefully decomposing responsibilities or pieces of functionality in your system, you might end up over decomposing stuff or under decomposing stuff. And miss decomposition in any way, or if you miss or mess up the decomposition, you end up with incorrectly distributed classes or bodies of responsibility. Again, if you try to for example, distribute responsibility in a specific way on certain classes, sometimes you might over-distribute responsibility or under-distribute responsibility, which makes you end up with a class that has multiple responsibilities, or one responsibility being subdivided to multiple classes that need to collaborate together in order for them to get the responsibility to actually work correctly. Now, the difference between decomposition and responsibility distribution is that decomposition, from my own perspective, happens on the level of a module, a package, or something like that. A responsibility is on the level of a class, which, combined with other classes, could design a module or a package. Collaboration. Sometimes you decide to make some classes collaborate with one another while they shouldn't. And sometimes you decide to isolate some classes where they should belong to the same place and they should collaborate in any given way, but they don't. And that could cause a problem. And abstract behavior. Some people design classes on some level of abstraction that they don't really belong to, and that messes things up. So I would believe that those 4 different factors could result in code smells. That is exactly what I'm talking about here. The conclusion of this is that a problem with one or more of those factors, those 4 factors that we just discussed, could cause a code smell to appear in the code. So you might as well just end up with a code smell that you never saw before. It's not mentioned in any book, but you just identify it. You feel something is wrong with this kind of thing. And this is what Martin Fowler said about the intuition of the developer. As you continue on detecting those smells and understanding exactly how they affect you and how they affect the course of actions that you could take throughout your development session, you will understand more and more about those code smells, and you'll become more adept at refactoring your code. So thank you very, very much for watching this episode. If you like this episode, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not yet, and please share this video series. It's really important. I've put a lot of work building those ideas. I collected info from multiple books, multiple references, and it has been really effortful. So I would really appreciate your support. Thank you very much for that, and thank you for watching the series, and have a lovely day.